Hello World Wide Web, I'm Dr. Shado, the internet personality with the best hair. Are you ready to take on the wasteland? Ready to go beyond Thunderdome? Oh, it's too bad because this is a review of the first Mad Max movie, which while technically post-apocalyptic, is also not really post-apocalyptic. In fact, the whole dystopian angle the series ended up with was more accidental than anything. The fact was Mad Max was simply written as a cop-gone rogue story, but as the filmmakers had about $300,000 to pull it off with, they couldn't get good-looking buildings to film in, nor could they afford to build new sets. Therefore, they decided to film in run-down abandoned buildings and just say it's a post-apocalyptic story. Smart move, just using what you have and adapting accordingly. Though it does show that this was not the intention from the start, which makes the first Mad Max feel very different from the rest of the series. In any case, this still was the breakthrough role for Mel Gibson, despite the fact that in the original release they dubbed over the entire movie for America. Yeah, they speak English, but in the weird Australian accent, and honestly, who'd understand that gibberish? I hope we can now, because that's the version of the movie I have with the original voice track. The original Mad Max is... well, that's fucking... You know, well, fuck it, I'm gonna show it to you anyway, so it's gonna be easier to explain then. Our story opens a few years from now on the very well-maintained Anarchy Road, not meeting Max just yet, but a couple other highway patrolmen, Roop, played by Steve Millichamp, and his partner Charlie, played by John Lay, who receive a dreadful alert.
We got a cop killer.
You're kidding.
Sorry, Charlie, but it's true. While movies like to start on action to really hook the audience in right away, it was decided that a cop being killed was not worthwhile action to show, but a high-speed chase was. The call goes on to point out that the murderer evidently stole a patrol car himself to make the getaway, and some jargon about the necessary precautions to take and maintain a lawful highway and all that. Point is, Roop and Charlie are on the case, even if they don't agree on who takes the wheel. At least this gives us a little more time to take in the setting, and have the movie try to explain what exactly is going on here.
I've seen the style before. Terminal psychotic.
Which exposits the thing with the... Okay, to be honest with you, I have absolutely no fucking idea what's going on here. Yeah, he killed some cops and he's running. Who he is, why he's doing it, I have no fucking clue.
I am the Night Rider.
Yeah, he's the Knight Rider, played by Vincent Gill. That's important because he's the Knight Rider. And has connections with gangs because he's the Knight Rider. In any case, he is being pursued by the March Hare, containing Sarce and Scuttle, played by Stephen Clark and George Novak. They relay the fleeing man's position on Anarchy Road, allowing Roop and Charlie to get the jump on him. Something they suck at. Much like the editors, apparently. I think I know what happened there. Well, honestly, maybe the accident was supposed to be disorienting, so good on you. This doesn't mean that Roop and Charlie are out of the game, though, just that Roop is driving now. However, we needed to take a break in post-apocalyptic Australia to go to the post-apocalyptic cafe for a post-apocalyptic brunch with the patrolman Jim Goose, played by Steve Bisley.
By the time we got to him, he was just sitting there trying to scream with his face ripped off.
He's one of the more interesting characters in the film. So much so, it's actually him on the movie poster instead of Max. And yeah, he's got a full helmet on and you can't tell, but the rest of the outfit matches Goose. As it just so happens, the chase goes right by said diner, interrupting Goose's lunch break. This is the part where the movie gets extra serious, as they start breaking out the civilian casualties, upping the ante right in time for Waldo's son to be caught in the crossfire. But it's alright, the kid's fine, it's the cops that are smashing left and right in accidents and all that. Kids are small and they slip around car tires so easily. Don't actually go and test that. Also, as bad as Charlie drove, Roop, it turns out, is much worse.
Main Force Patrol, we're out of the game, unable to continue pursuit. You better send a meat truck. Charlie's copped a saucepan in the throat.
And considering they crashed several times before this and just kept going, I'm kind of surprised he doesn't just try to duct tape that shut and keep driving. Well, maybe these characters are actually somewhat smarter than the ones in the Evil Dead remake. Their incompetence and the ever-increasing danger of this chase is the build-up to introduce our lead, however, Max Rockatansky, played by Mel Gibson. He joins this pursuit as slowly as possible, just to show he means business. And there's no way that What's-His-Face will elude him.
The Toecutter! He knows who I am! I am the Night Rider!
And what the hell does that mean to me? You might as well be driving around going, I'm Kevin! Just ask Steve! I'm motherfucking Kevin! Max's strategy for intercepting this guy is a novel one, though. He's gonna come in from the front and play chicken with the man. Interestingly, not only does the Knight Rider turn first, but evidently this experience was very traumatizing for the man, and he's just not emotionally ready to deal with having Max on his tail. Oh god. I mean, killing police officers, trying to run over children, that's easy! But that's fucking Mel Gibson back there! Having turned the Knight Rider into an emotional wreck, Max stays on his tail long enough to turn him into a physical one. I'm pretty sure that the afterburner was there to propel the car into a wreck without, killing any extras in the process. I think that they personally should have, established that the car had an afterburner in the movie for some reason at all, because it's pretty easy to notice the giant flame coming out of the car's ass. Well, that's enough action-packed car chases and running shit over, or at least it better be, because it's time to take a look at Max's incredibly boring home life, seeing his marriage to avid saxophone enthusiast Jessie, played by Joanne Samuel. They have a lovely post-apocalyptic cabin out on the post-apocalyptic shoreline with a post-apocalyptic baby, Sprague, played by Brendan Heath. Yeah, I know, I keep driving home the post-apocalyptic angle when it makes the least amount of sense, but that's my problem, is that they specifically went with that angle, even though most of the time it doesn't look like that at all. Or, maybe actually it's just been misinformed all these years, and the apocalypse is actually going to be a lot better than they made it out to be.
I'm not grumpy.
The fuck did I just wander into? Oh, evidently, Jessie is upset that Max has been called to work early, especially after the broadcast about how the officer was killed yesterday. Yeah, the TV is still a thing, and I'll try to stop pointing out how much stuff works after the world has ended. Interestingly, there's nothing really major going on right now. They just wanted him to come in so the mechanics can show off the latest build, with a giant fucking engine so big the air intake blocks your vision. But you know hot rod rules, the less you can see, the better the car. This might just be a way to keep Max from quitting, though.
Our top pursuit man wants to quit the road, and we have to seduce him with candy.
At least that's what I assume is going on here. I mean, I'm not sure exactly how good of a way it is to bribe Max to stay on the force when, as far as I can tell, he's not actually allowed to drive the thing. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here, I swear. That night, though, a new rash of violent crime is sweeping the streets, and Fifi McAfee, played by Roger Ward, believes it's the Knight Rider's friend, Toecutter, and his gang, seeking revenge, and therefore, they may be coming for Max. Obviously, this is because that's exactly what's going on, and the movie shows us the gang rolling into a local town, introducing Toecutter, played by Hugh Keys-Byrne. The locals offer no resistance, considering they just want their old friend's body, which they have on hand in a pretty small coffin, considering there wasn't much of him left.
Poor bastard.
The Knight Rider. That is his name.
One thing I can say that isn't bitching and moaning is I really like the character of Toecutter. Hugh does a great job depicting the man as dangerous, but very smart, and just crazy enough that you don't know what he's going to be doing. Just picking up a dead friend is a bit too boring, though, so the motorcycle gang spends a bit of its pent-up energy torturing the local townsfolk. Nothing major, just beating people up, tying them to the bikes and dragging them until they die. Oh, and we can't forget chasing down those who try to escape, going Michael Jackson on their ride, and then going Michael Myers on the team couple. Well, if Myers used a little less cleaver and a little more cock. But the police show up just in the nick of time to be able to witness one of the victims fleeing the area and find the wreck and the other victim still tied to it. However, it appears that the gang also left behind one of their own, Johnny the Boy, played by Tim Burns. Probably because he's an asshole. Then again, you try and make sense of what's going on here.
Hey, Jimbo.
Yep.
You remember that code 3?
Yeah.
Remember him?
Yeah, the code. That guy. Yes. As it happens, he was left behind for reasons. Thing is, Toecutter wants them to go back for him. Because. And what badass action can we count on the biker gang employing to get their man back from the dystopian super cops? Pulling technicalities in the legal system.
Nobody. The punks didn't show. The girl didn't show. The townspeople didn't show. Nobody showed.
They have trials, or things. The point is, there's this rule there that at least one person has to show up for it, otherwise the, criminals just go free. And don't ask me, I didn't write the legislation. I'm pretty sure at this point I've gotten at least 50 things wrong in this movie, but hell, I'll try to figure out the rest anyway. Johnny goes free and meets right back up with the gang, hanging out on the beach shooting mannequins. He joins in and, of course, fucks up and pisses off Toecutter. Not that anything bad comes of this but a stern spanking, but back in the city, the disco, yeah, they still have a disco, is where Goose gets sidetracked by the singer's seductive stare, which gives the gangsters the time they need to sabotage his bike. So by morning, when he heads out on patrol... it goes perfectly fine. Woof. No, wait, this was a very specific sabotage. You see, no reason to damage the other cars or anything, so instead, after he rides down the road for several miles... suddenly unexpected brakes send him flying! Which they really lucked out that he happened to be booking it down a highway at that time. I mean, imagine if he was, stuck in an intersection, and then light turns green, and he's like... and then the brakes kick in, and he's like, oh... well, that's annoying. He's perfectly fine, though, having landed in soft grass. Therefore, he calls in a truck to get his bike back to town, and takes said truck on the way back. It's here we learn the true nature of the sabotage. Yes, the whole time they knew that if they had a woman seduce him, that would give them the time to sabotage his bike's brakes so that eventually they would kick in and send him flying off the bike, which would cause him to call in a truck, which will let him drive down the road that they were waiting at, and then throw the hunk of metal, probably hitting the windshield, and if he flinched, he might crash the truck. Fucking hell, Rube Goldberg would find this unnecessarily complicated. Not only did all that previous shit have to go exactly according to plan, but it looks like they needed Goose's car to wind up upside down, suffer a gasoline leak, and the man be trapped inside. Fortunately, that just so happens to be precisely what transpired. This allows us to establish that Johnny happens to have a light around his neck at all times. Not that Toecutter wants that. No, he wants Johnny to use a match. Funny thing, all this shit they did to work up towards killing Goose and Johnny being instrumental in it all, for some reason he doesn't want to throw the match. Do we need some reason to think that Johnny's somehow not such a bad guy? He'll do everything leading up to getting a man killed, except actually doing it. That's just too much for the man. Or is it that he's even crazier than Toecutter because he'll talk back to him? On the scene about as fast as usual, Max finds Goose in the hospital and checks on his condition. To his horror, the makeup department has covered his arm in horrible burns! And his face, allegedly, as well, but that supposedly got cut from the movie.
That thing in there. That's not the Goose. No way.
Well, it may be Sheila Florence's arm, but the character's still supposed to be Jim Goose. The loss of his longtime friend and co-worker has gotten to Max, though, so after talking to his wife about feelings, he goes to the station to give Fifi his resignation. Obviously, the man is not happy to hear about this best man on the street leaving the force, so after much deliberation, he gets Max to agree instead to take a few weeks off, and if he feels the same way upon returning, then he can quit. Or listen to more begging and pleading from Fifi. Either way, it's time to go see Max off on his grand vacation with his wife and son.
I've never been able to say things to you, Jess, about how I feel. Guess I always counted on you understanding.
Every scene you've had with your wife is both of you going on and on about how you feel about shit. And this one is no exception, Max. At one point along the road trip to vacation destination of sorts, they need to get a new tire. Fortunately, they find a mechanic without much difficulty. But now there's a new crisis. The baby wants ice cream. Whatever shall they do?
There's a shop just down the beach. They'll appreciate the business.
Sure, thanks.
I promised I wouldn't rant on and on about how unapocalyptic this apocalyptic setting is, but forget about all that. We've got action coming. Wouldn't you know it, Ice Cream Beach just so happens to be the same beach that Toecutter and his gang have taken as home base. At least, that's what I assume has gone on, as it's been 2 or 3 days and they're still sunbathing in leather pants. It's Toecutter himself to go face to face with Jessie, which could spell the end for her. Little did he realize she's the wife of Mad Max, tearing through the countryside in their badass red hatchback. Thus she plows through the gang, escaping the beach and picking Max up before hitting the highway. Funny, looks like they didn't need that tire after all. It does mean the mechanic knows where they're going, though. Nah, that's not so important. Biker gang chasing you down, wanting you dead, no reason to cancel your vacation. Therefore, we can have more scenes of the happy family being a happy family.
Come here, you. Oh, you touch me with those hands and I'll rip you apart. No, look at them. No.
You know, it's been ages since I've done a music joke, and this feels incredibly fitting for how I'm taking this in right now. As they are happy and in love and nothing can ruin their day, Jessie decides to head off to the beach alone, because that worked out so fucking well last time. While the beach is relatively peaceful, the seagulls sound really weird. And when the seagulls stop stealing your food and laughing at you and instead begin squawking code at each other planning a raid, you know it's time to run. Which is just what she does. Turns out the forest she came through is now crawling with those bikers from before. Why they didn't just jump her on the beach when she was easily surrounded, I don't know, but maybe they're more into sport assault. Whatever the case, she makes it back to the current vacation spot ahead of the pursuers, and Max heads into the forest with his gun to take them out. Slight problem with this plan, though. Not only have they somehow managed to misplace their kid in the chaos, but...
Well. It's our little mother.
The entire gang managed to get out of the forest, presumably taking the long way around, and one of them ran up and grabbed the kid while no one was looking. You know, just because they ride Kawasaki's, that doesn't mean they're ninjas. It seems they are interested in revenge on Max for what was done to the Knight Rider. Or, I guess. I don't know, they're kind of hard to understand, but I'm sure everyone present understands this.
Right there!
I hate guns.
Probably my favorite shot of Toecutter in the entire movie. And yeah, their hostess showed up with a double-barrel shotgun, and that's cool and all, but Toecutter's got this range of emotion from deadly serious to cartoon silly. A warning shot, which sadly doesn't actually hit anyone, does allow them to retrieve the baby from the bikers. Unfortunately, their escape attempt also reveals the dreadful truth that the gang somehow managed to stealthily sneak their bikes in there as well, and the escape will not be easy. Especially considering their escape vehicle of choice doesn't want to work worth shit right now, but rather than use it as cover of some kind, they wind up just trying to hoof it. Obviously there's a reason motorcycles were invented, though. I mean, to put it bluntly, it beats the hell out of walking. And this isn't just a cutaway freakout like the kid from earlier, as Max realizes the dreadful truth that his wife and son are dead. Also, the bikers don't just turn around and kill him too, giving him enough time to go mad and seek revenge. Thus, taking the badass car they established earlier, he tortures the mechanic until they spill the beans on where the gang is hiding. This results in getting back into much longer chase scenes, including one of the gangs stealing gas, because, well, it's not like they pay for anything anyway. Point is, Max's investigation leads him to a stretch of road with a bike abandoned at the side. What could this be? Oh, that's right, an obvious fucking trap. It seems at this point the bike gang now consists of 3 people, Toecutter, Johnny the Boy, and Miscellaneous. While they can easily take Max out right fucking now, they instead toy with him and let number 3 take some buckshot to the face. Getting in his car to continue the pursuit, Max chases down Toecutter, ready to exert some street justice on him. And googly eyes. And I know Toecutter, I said myself, he looks kind of like a cartoon character in some scenes, but googly eyes. This leaves no one but Johnny the Boy, whom Max eventually finds looting a wreckage. This time, it's personal though, because Johnny killed Goose. As did Toecutter, and Toecutter was far more proactive about it, but that's not important, we gotta get some poetic justice in here, so Max sets up an elaborate means to kill Johnny, or let him live.
The chain in those handcuffs is high tensile steel. It'll take you 10 minutes to hack through it with this. If you're lucky, you can hack through your ankle in 5 minutes. Go.
Better hop to it, mate. They're gonna pull this shit in Saw 25 years from now, and kids are gonna think that they came up with it. In any case, psycho ending! Max leaves Johnny to his fate, which we don't quite see, leaving it open, but while he has avenged his wife and kid, the road has hardened Max to the point where he is perhaps just as crazy as those he hunted down. And that's just... credits. Yeah. Well, that was Mad Max. And, how in the hell did it become the most profitable movie of its era? Might have something to do with the minuscule budget, but that's not a problem I have with this movie. It looks fantastic, and to me can be easily used as an example of using your money wisely. However, despite this easy praise I can lay on the film, I have to be honest that I really did not enjoy my time watching it. The problems came in many forms, but they piled up. First off, the plot is incredibly basic and uninteresting. The post-apocalyptic twist adds a little flavor, but it isn't used in any meaningful degree. Likely because it was a last-minute decision due to budget constraints, but there really isn't anything at all that happens in Mad Max that couldn't occur in a modern setting. Secondly, the pacing is all over the place. The opening has enough action to keep you interested, and of course, I know you can't have a movie be nothing but a 90-minute chase scene. Or at least that's not normal, but when things slow down in Mad Max, they slow down to a crawl. Finally, the editing is very choppy in a lot of areas. Yes, crashes and the like can be meant to be disorienting, and the cuts between shots reflecting that is fine, but most of the movie is much more slowly paced and deliberate, and big disorienting cuts from there feel a lot less excusable. Overall, I'd say Mad Max is a fun film to look at. The setting looks great and the angles employed make the most of it. The vehicular action is a lot of fun, but the rest of the movie may try your patience, and to me, the whole thing just doesn't stand up to its own reputation. Coming in at 2 flame-broiled felons out of 5. Now, I know I actually risk losing subscribers over something like that. It's an interesting spot to be in, and actually have a large enough subscriber base where that can kind of creep its way into your brain. It's like, do I want to risk ticking people off? Because, so many people like this movie, and they might not like to hear my opinion on it, but if I'm not honest with myself about my score, then I can't be honest with you with it. If I'm not honest with you about the score, and I'm a fucking critic, then what the fuck is the point of even watching me? Well, I do have fabulous hair. Thank you all for watching. I've been Dr. Shado, and remember, the apocalypse ain't so bad. They got ice cream.